Mom is speaking.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Actually, this is previous batches I've written here. So why should we writing again? So I'm going to explain at it. So do you have edit option? Edit option is there. Just I need to write on it. That's it. Just not a cropping, just writing. Okay, very good. Guys, you have a system. I have a system. You have a system. I have a system. Next, in your system, in our system, okay, we have a user account. We have a user account, right? We have a user accounts are there. So you want to log into your system means the system need user account. So then you can able to log in, right? And where is this user account information stored in our system? In your system only. In your operating system only, that user information, user's password information is stored, right? User information and password information stored in your system only. Okay. And when you are login, so you put a password. So it is going to authenticated and authorize. So then you are able to log into your system. Once you log into able to log into system, so you can work in your system. You open a documents, you open an application, you do it, right? So who is going to authenticate you? Who is going to authenticate? Your system only. Your system only authenticate your system account. Okay. So where is your username and password? In your laptop and desktops? In your system only. First one. Okay. And when you are trying to log in to your computer, so who is going to authenticate and authorize your user account is your system only. So these type of user accounts, we call it as local accounts. There are local accounts. Your system, your user, your system has your user account and authenticate your user. That is a local account. Okay. In these local accounts, there is a basically two types of accounts are there. One is standard user account, another one is administrator account. Generally, by default, you are after installation of OS, you created a first account. That first account is a administrator account. By default, is a administrator account. Administrator is a user. Administrator account means is a user who is having administrative privileges. If your account is administrator account means you are having all rights, all privileges. Means you can install, uninstall an application. You can change your computer related settings like you want to partition your hard disk, you can do it. You want to format it, partition, you can do it. You want to disable, enable a network adapter, you can do it. You can change the password, you can do it. You can stop the particular background services, you can do it. Like that. You can do settings, configurations, installations, uninstallations also with your administrator account. If you are a standard account, if you are a standard user account, if your account is standard user account, it means you have a limited privileges. Administrator accounts having all privileges and standard user account having limited user account. Where are these two things? In the same system only. For example, user one is administrator account. User two is standard user account. So user one can able to do everything in the system. User two cannot able to do everything in the system. They has permissions but limited only. Okay. So This is about your individual computers or workgroup systems, their user accounts. You understand user account means you will understand remaining stuff. So I have a system here, okay, a small system. It's in my virtual machine. So it's a Windows 10 test. This is my virtual machine. What happened? Yeah. Okay. And I have a user account here. The user account is test user 1, and I have two accounts are there. Test user 1, test user 2. So I'm logging with the test user 1. Okay. You can also verify these things in your system. The first one is like a where to go, and I'm going to settings. Now only we log in now, it will take time. And that to background updates. When you log in, immediately it will try to update. After a very long time we use now, very occasionally we are using, it is always updates are always on. See the accounts, okay? Click on accounts, search for accounts, okay? And there you can find it is a local account. Test user 1 is a local account, means where is this account is in this mission only. Next is administrator account. Is a administrator. Test user 1 is a administrator account. Next, family and others. For example, you are using your login to your system, you log into your system and you are using it. In your home, someone want to use your system. So you don't want to give your user account and its password, you don't want to share it. And you want that other person, you don't want to give all privileges because something they change, it may be effect on your system. So what you are doing is you create a additional account, like add someone else this PC, add someone else this PC. It is asking for Microsoft account. I'm not giving any Microsoft, not required also. Just simple local account, general administration only. Okay. I do not have this person sign in information. I select I do not have this person's sign in information. With secondary users, Microsoft account you do not have, like that we are telling. Okay, anyway, if you have or not, not required. Okay, so it is asking to create a new account for secondary user. No, I'm just without Microsoft account. I add a user without a Microsoft account. Now you can add a username like a secondary user, like test user, like that. User 2, user 3, like that you created. And if you want to assign a password for him, you can also give a password if you want it. So once you given a password, it is asked for security questions. So you can give that security fulfill. Once you are completed, then an account is created. Which type of account it is? Automatically. This is the second account you are created. Automatically, this is a standard user account. Automatically, this user is standard user account. If you want to make this user also administrator account, you can make it, no problem. Okay, you can make it, no problem. Next. But once you make the user as a administrator account, once you make that user as a administrator account, he will get all the privileges. Okay, so I don't want to make the user as a administrator. Next. Okay, so test user 1 is a administrator, test user 2 is a standard user account. Next, what are the user profile data? For example, if I put a data on my desktop, or maybe I put a data on my downloads, desktop, music, pictures, documents, videos, the data which is inside this C users, test user 1, that is my user data, right? So what are the data in this location cannot be accessed by test user 2. Say, okay, test user 2. If I put a data in my C drive, directly if I put a data in here, test user 2 can be accessible. User 2 can accessible. But if I put a data in this one, in the documents, pictures, videos, downloads, desktops, these data cannot be accessed. The what are the data inside this folder cannot be accessed by other users. That's it is this data called a user's profile data. This is a user profile data. Okay. So second, we're also going to control panel. The control panel, user accounts. User accounts. See is a local account, administrator, password protected. Manage other accounts. So it is a local account, password protected. Okay. So it is obviously it's not administrator, it's a standard user account. You can change account type also. If you want to change account type also, you can change it from standard to administrator. Because already administrator, you cannot make it a standard. Why? Because at least one administrator must be there. So you are already administrator, there is no any other administrator is not there. So you can do it. Of course, by default, OS administrator is there. But that is not enabled, that's a disabled one. Okay. So check it, your user accounts. Guys, understand this part. Individual computers or workgroup systems. System has the user accounts. Their user accounts are local accounts. Means their users information like username, password, information stored in their system only. In their system only. User accounts authenticated and authorized by their system only. In these accounts, generally two types of account, administrator account, standard user account. Administrator accounts having all privileges, standard user accounts having limited permissions. One user profile data cannot be accessed by other users. User profile data means users desktop data, downloads, documents, pictures, videos. This data cannot be accessed by other users. Simply say under C users, username, what are the data under the username? That is entirely the user's personal profile data it is. That data cannot be accessed by other users. Okay, so this is workgroup systems, means individual computers, your computers. Why I'm keep on telling your computer, why should I open this separate Windows system? Because my laptop is account is different. So we'll see that. Go to settings. This is my laptop, guys. Okay. Go to settings, click on accounts. So what is it showing administrator, but still it not showing local account. It is not showing local account. It is showing Savant's name. Savant slash Latif Shaik. Okay. So my user name and password not stored in my laptop. It is in a centralized server. It is in a centralized server called a domain controller. In that one, my name is there, my password is there. And my computer, when I'm logging, so morning I came and I log into my laptop, right? Who is going to authenticate? My centralized server called a domain controller authenticate my username. Okay, my account will be authenticated. Verification of identity. Username and password will be verified by domain controller, not my laptop. So when I'm accessing my laptop or any resources or any data, who is going to authorize? Again, domain controller. Okay. So my laptop is because belongs to organization. So the user account and their passwords are stored in a centralized server called a domain controller. And when I'm logging to my computer, Okay, when I'm logging to my computer, who is going to authenticate? My domain controller only. In this one, my computer is belongs to the a domain. So the domain contains a domain controller controlling all these authentications. Yeah, one more, that is in my laptop, which is in the part of domain. So in my laptop, not only me, also others also can log in, which is in the domain, who are in the my domain. For example, if Vista madam want to log into my system, or maybe Ravan sir log into my, or Ganesh sir is trying to log into my system, my laptop, they can log in with their user accounts because all our accounts are stored in a centralized domain controller only. I can log into Ravan sir laptop. Ravan sir can log into my laptop also because these user accounts not stored in our individual system. It is in the centralized system only. Okay. So where is that picture? Yes. Here names are little different. Domain computers. My laptop is domain computer. Your system is work group system. How it is? This is, for example, this is like your system. Simply go to search, type about your PC, type about your PC, find out these options like rename this PC advanced, rename this PC advanced or advanced system settings or system protection like that. Actually, it is we require to go to the system properties. So any option you can select like this. It opens that one. Okay, something system properties. Go to computer name under system properties. Go to computer name. See this system is work group system. Showing work group name is work group. If you click on change, also it is showing computer name is a member of work group name is work group. So this system is work group system. That's why user accounts are showing local accounts. User account under that user account name, it is showing it's a local account. So why? Because these are a work group system. It's individual computers. These individual computer has their own user accounts stored in the same system, authenticated by same system, authorized by same system only. So these are a work group systems. And my laptop is domain laptop. My laptop is domain laptop. So in the settings, where we can go, so same thing like go to system, scroll down, about. This also about your PC only, nothing difference. This is also about your PC. Select anything from here. So I go to system protection and select computer name. And you see domain name. So I showed one earlier one system that is showing work group name is work group. Now it is differently showing. It's a domain 70s.com. Domain 70s. There it is work group. So my laptop is domain laptop, domain computer. Okay, which domain I belongs to 70s.com domain. We click on changes. So this is a computer name which is belongs to the domain called a 70s.com. So my system is belongs to the domain. And my domain users are in the domain controller. So my system is domain computer. So that's why when I'm trying to log in, so what should I log in? When I'm trying to log in, that domain controller verifies my username and password. So then once it is verified, it will authenticate my user and authorize my account to log into the system. Then only I can log in. Okay. So my account. So here in the domain computers, the user accounts are domain user accounts. Okay. So domain user accounts means where the domain, where users account information store in the domain controller, centralized server, domain controller. who is going to authenticate these users is a domain controller only. Okay. So where is your domain accounts are located? Where is your user account stores? In a centralized server called a domain controller. And where is this user who is going to authenticate and authorize the users is domain controller only. Okay. And every system, every individual system, they're having their local administrator account is there and standard user accounts also there, right? But in the domain environment, we have a domain administrator. That is a domain administrator is there. So one single domain administrator is administrator of all computers in the domain. All computers in the domain. Again, guess domain computers means once you go to the computer properties under computer name, it will show domain name. Okay. If you go to click on change, it will shows you're a member of particular domain. Generally you can't click on change. If you click on change, it will ask you permission. But in my system, I'm an administrator. I'm a local administrator also. That's different tricky point. So don't go to that point. Okay. So that is, you need to understand a lot of things to do it. Okay. Because my IT manager, we are trainers. Me and Madhu sir, another trainer is also there. So we need to install a lot of softwares in our system. It depends upon the requirements, right? Different batches, different softwares are required. For every time we need to install or uninstall anything, so we have to go to our service desk team to ask for a permission to install. Which permission is required? Domain administrator permission is required. With that username, you can install the any software kind of stuff. So it is like a guys. In our workgroup system, we have a standard user account, which is local account itself. It is similar to this domain user accounts is like a standard user accounts only, but it is a domain accounts. Okay. So you have a limited permissions. I have limited permissions. I can't do everything by default. Okay. So if you want to install any software or uninstalling, or maybe you want to do any settings, we need a permission, username and password of domain user, domain administrator account. Domain administrator account, user password is required. So then only you can able to change anything in your system. Okay. So domain user account is like a standard user account only, limited permissions. Domain administrator is administrator of all systems in the same domain. All systems in the same domain. Once again, earlier I showed workgroup system. Now it is domain computer. In domain computer, domain accounts you are using to log in. The domain accounts are stored in a domain controller. Okay. And who is going to authenticate and authorize the user login is domain controller only. To do any settings or changes, you require domain administrator permission. Okay, you need a domain administrator permission or a login information. Got the point, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll go one by one.
Yes, sir.
Again, very good, very good. Individual computers, user accounts, domain means it's already we discussed, no? So administrator account is there, standard user account, and administrator account has all privileges, standard have a limited privileges are there. And these in individual computers or workgroup system, the user accounts are local accounts only because the user information, password stored in the same system, as well as who is going to authenticate, authentication authorized by local system only. What is meant by authentication? Verification of identity or credentials, like a verification of username and password when you log into your system or any account, email account you log in. So there is a authentication and authorization like that. Authorization. So authentication means verification of identity or a verification of credentials, right? But authorization means, are you allowed to access, right, or not? Authorization, you are authorized to access the computer, authorized to access the printer, are you authorized access to this particular file? Do you have a permission to access this particular file? That is called a authorization. If you are allowed to access, it will let you to allow. But not allowed to access, no. Okay, so that is authorization. Okay, this part we discussed, right? Next is, now already we discussed about in work group and domain computer kind of stuff. So then it is quite easy to understand this work group and domain things also. Yeah. So drawing will take time. That's why I'm not drawing. Actually, I like to draw. Okay. Um, um, okay. Actually, I like to draw and explain. Uh, that's my, actually, it's good to draw and explain this. Guys, this is a work group system, work group model. There is a two models in organization. You have your own laptop. It is a work group PC, individual laptop. It's a single system. You work on your system. That's it. Okay. Now it's a separate one. It's in your home, but you take into the office. In like there is an office. There is a 10 computers are there, or maybe 20 computers, or maybe 50 computers. What it is. So I have individual computers, a laptops or desktop, individual computers. Okay, I connected in the network. So why we should connect it in the network? To share information, data or resources. We are connected in the network. So they will able to communicate and share information or data, resources, right? So I connected a system, individual computers, I connected it in the network. So it is called a work group model. It is called a work group. In this workgroup model, there is no centralized control. So it is a decentralized administration. Okay, no centralized control, meaning is decentralized administration. Decentralized means no centralized administration. Decentralized means these are each individual systems having their own user accounts. See, these systems having their own admin accounts, they're having their own administrator accounts, and also I created some standard accounts. So for example, earlier example, the earlier batch people names, Anjali, these are all their names only. So for example, there is a person called Sirisha, account is in PCA. So Sirisha came and opened the PCA, log into PCA, PCA authenticate Sirisha and started working on it. So Rani came to PCB, log into PCB, start working on the system. Anjali came and working on a PCC system. Okay, like that. Now, Rani want to access data in the PCA. Data is in the PCA. Rani want to access it. So what Rani is required is AP system, IP address. A system, IP address is required, of course, and A system user and password also required. Okay, with Rani account, it cannot access the APC's data. Share data cannot be accessed by Rani with Rani account. She has to use Shirisha account, Shirisha username, password. Then only we can able to access it. Okay. Next. So Shirisha account stores in the PCA. Anjali account stores in the PCC. So one day, so Shirisha want to log into PCC. She can log in, cannot log in. Why she can't log in? Why? Because Sirisha account is not in the PCC. Okay, Sirisha account not in the PCC. She cannot log in. How to log in? So okay, so there is an administrator, right? So people who are managing your systems, system administrator will you have to send a request to system administrator. My system is not working. I want to log into this PC. Administrator comes and log in with the local administrator account. Create a account, Sirisha account here, so that Sirisha can able to log into PCC. Okay, otherwise they can't log in. So 1, 2. So each individual computer is connected in the network, so they can able to share information, data, or resources, right? So that is what I said. It's a work group model. No centralized administration or no centralized control. It is a decentralized administration. Each system having their own local user accounts. People log into their account and work on their systems. That's it. One system user cannot log into other systems because their in other system their user account and password is not available. If you want to log into another system means you have to call your system administrator. He will log in as a local administrator account and they can able to create a local account in it. Okay, like that. Next, if you want to access any other system resources or data, so you may require their IP address, of course, but also require their username and password information. In case your system is down, you want to log into other system, means your account is required in the other system. Think like that you have a more number of systems, like 100 employees, sorry, 100 computers, 300 employees. 100 computers, 300 employees. 3 shifts people are working. Means each computer you have to create 3 accounts. And you must log into that system always. You cannot log into other system. If in case you want to log into other system, your account has to be created in there. Okay, data, that also cannot be moved. You have to store data, centralized data you have to maintain. That is a very important last point is, guys, you have 5 systems are showing here. In these 5 systems, I want to do certain setting, some network related setting or firewall related setting or some desktop related setting. So what I have to do as a administrator, what I have to do? So I log in with their local administrator account. I have to log in with their local admin. I have to go to PCA. I'm a system admin. So I go to the PCA, log in as a local administrator account. Then I can change the settings. Then I go to PCB local administrator account, do the change and do the certain settings here. Same thing I will do it for other system also. Each and every system I have to go and log in as a account. Which is very tiny. I think this is good. Okay. So I have to log into each individual system. Then I have to do settings. Okay, 5 systems are okay. 10 systems. Okay, no problem. I will go to each individual system, log in as a local administrator, change the required settings. 10 systems. 50 systems. Little hard. I will hire 2 more junior admins. Then I told them 25 systems for one person, 25 systems for another person. I will explain how to do it and then they will do it. Okay, 100 systems, 200 systems, 500 systems, 1000 systems. All the system has to be follows a certain kind of settings, a desktop settings. For example, if you look at my desktop, so many icons are there. So organization said users should not create any data on the desktop. Our user should follow the same desktop background. Okay, always same background. So as a company logo has to be done. Our user should read a printer access. Okay, printer access is required. Certain users require printer access. Or maybe some firewall setting has to be done in all the systems. All 100 systems have to do some firewall related setting, some network related settings. Or maybe I have to install certain packages, applications in a particular systems. Multiple 100 systems have to install a package in it. So each and every system I have to go and do all these things. So I should log in as their local administrator. Then I have to do all these settings and installation configurations also. Right? It is more burden for a people, right? Organization and the people who are working. It is more burden for these people. Next. So how to overcome it? So we'll see. Then next model comes with a domain model. What is this domain model? Domain model. In domain model, there is a centralized controller. There is a centralized controller called a domain controller. There is a centralized controller called a domain controller, which is nothing but a server. Domain controller is nothing but a server. Okay. Domain controller is nothing. So what is in the domain controller? This domain controller contains, in the server, it contains a database. In the database, it contains domain user account information, domain computers information, domain resources information, like that. So domain database, domain controller contains a database. In the database contains users, groups, computers, resources, information. Okay. So we create a users in the domain controller. So that users stores in this database. You have a computers. We join this computer to the domain controller. We join the computers to the domain. So automatically in domain controller, those computers join into the domain. So there are domain computers. The users we create in the domain controller. So there are domain users. Okay. So how to join into the domain? So this is my computer, which is right now is a right now it is a work group. So I want to join this computer to the domain. So go to the computer properties, computer name. It's already in work group. Now I want to join this computer to a domain. Click on a change under member of domain. So click on domain and type the domain name. For example, Savantis.com. And click OK. So what happened? It sent a request to the domain controller. Domain controller ask you authentication. You have to give domain administrator username and password. So once you give username and password, okay. So domain controller authenticate and it will join your computer into the domain. Means what are the computer name it is showing, it will be, you go to the domain database. Then you will become a domain computer. Okay. So like my laptop is earlier, it's a work group system. So once it is joined the domain, it is a domain computer. The computers join into the domain called a domain computer. Okay. You can also put your resources. You can also put your resources like a printers. Example, you can list into the domain controller database. Okay. Yeah. So this is first one. What is the second one? Users in the domain called domain users can log into any domain computer. Okay. Users in the domain can log into any domain computer by default. By default permissions, domain users can log into any domain computers. If it is a domain computer, they can log in. For example, user 1 log into C1, user 2 log into C2, user 3 log into C4, like that. And again, in the next shift, user 6 log into C1, user 7 log into C2, user 9 log into C3, user 10 log into C5, user 16 log into C4. Like that they can log. The next day, the user 1 log into C3, user 4 log into C2, user 5 log into C1. So they can log in because user accounts not in the computers. User accounts are in the domain controller. Okay, so these users can log into any domain computer by default. Next one is when user 1 log into C1, but C1 don't have user 1 account, we don't know how to authenticate the user. So it will send a request to the domain controller for authentication and authorization. This domain controller authenticate the user and authorize the user to access, to verify its identity, username and password. Once it is authorized, then it will authenticate user to access the C1 computer. So who is going to authenticate and authorize is a domain controller. Okay. So databases, authentication and authorization. Here, no, so user will log into this system today, but tomorrow you can log into another system, no problem. In C4, you have a login with the user 4, and there is a data here. And if user 3 want to access this data from C3 system, user 3 required an IP address of C4 system. User 3 required IP address of C4 system. That's it. Not exactly required passwords. Password, because if you are already having a permission from the domain controller, from the domain administrator or from the domain controller, if you have a permission to access this data, you can access it with your own user account details only. With C3 password, username password only, we can access it. You don't require user for username and password. Okay. So one system user can log into other system. No. The system users are not there. All are domain users. No system contains these user information. So when they log into that system, domain controller authenticate and authorize the users. Okay. Before going, there is one question is there. What is that question, guys? Here in this, user 1 login. Okay, there is C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 systems, and C6 systems are in the same network. All are these things in the same network only. See, same network it is connected. Next. And C1, C2, C3, C4, C5 are joined into the domain. So the domain users can log into C1, C2, C3, C4, C5. But is they can able to log into C6 or not? Users can log into C6 or not? Any guesses? Already I have written here. Okay.
No, sir.
No. Very. Why not? Is C6 is name is here in this one. C1 is there, 2 is there, 3 is there, 4 is there, 5 is there. 6 is there or not? C6. C6 is not in the database. It meaning is C6 is not part of our domain. It's not joined into our domain. So it is, we don't know who is C6. Domain controller don't know. It's C6. It's not part of our domain. Okay. So obviously, if If it is a part of our domain, we can log in. If it is not part of our domain, it's not a domain computer. So it's not our domain computer. It may be belongs to some other domain or may not. It is an individual computer, but it is not part of our domain. So we cannot log into the system. Okay, we cannot share the settings or resources to that system. Of course, we can communicate. Communication is there, but it's in a different way. But we cannot log into the C6 system. It's not part of our domain. So that's why it is called a logical administrative boundary. So what is a domain? What is a domain? A logical administrative boundary. Administrative boundary. Okay, a logical administrative boundary. See this? C6 also is a part of our network. It is in our network. But thing is, it's not part of our domain. Yes, when you are saying I belongs to this, I belongs to 70s, right? So I belongs to an organization. You belongs to some organization. Okay, you are studied in a college. So which college? Which one? So that need a name. That is called a domain name. Domain. You're specifying a domain, joining into the domain. But domain has a name. That is called a domain name, simple. Okay, that is called a domain name. Domain does not mean name. The domain has a name. Okay, the domain has a name. Domain is a logical administrative boundary of users and computers. Meaning is these users and computers belongs to this particular domain. For example, my domain name is fantasy.com. So this user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4, user 5, like these users and the computers are belongs to fantasy.com domain. Who is going to manage all these things is domain controller, which is a server, which having a database of these users and computers, groups and resources. When users log into the domain computers, who is going to authenticate is a domain controller. It's a domain controller. Point to last point here, guys. In a work group, as I said, if you want to do any set change in the settings or any like a desktop setting, network setting, or you want to install some applications or package updates, you have to go to each individual system, log in as a local administrator account, then you can able to do the settings. Right? If 10 systems are there, okay. 20 systems are there, it's okay. 50 systems are there, okay. We can try, but little harder. 100 system, 200, like more number of devices, difficult to manage, right? Difficult to do it. But what about in the domain? In the domain, we have a group policy. Okay, in a domain controller, what we are having, it is a group policy. We can enforce various types of settings to a large number of users and computers using group policies. So we create a policy, a group policy. We create a policy and specified what settings has to be done to these computers or users. We specified those settings. For example, printer settings I have to give it to these computers. So I specified the printer settings in the policy. So this policy is applied to all these computers, users and computers. They will get automatically a printer setting. I don't need to go to each and system. Okay, I want to control the desktop environment. So I'll put that setting into the a policy and apply the policy. Obviously, those computers and those resources, like those computers users, get that kind of desktop environment policies. Even you can deploy application using a group policy is also possible. Okay, what is this group policy? You can enforce various types of settings to large number of users and computers. Okay. And whereas small point. These each individual computers in the work group, each individual computers having their local administrator account. Now, to log into any of these system as an administrator account, we have a domain administrator. Okay. You want to log into this one, you don't require C1's local account, local administrator account. You can log in with a domain user account, domain administrator account, and you can modify settings individually also using group policy for more number of users and computers. Individually, you want to do any settings, just log in as a domain administrator account and you can change the settings. Okay. Or installation of application, configurations of individual system, just log in as a domain administrator account. It's a one account type, 1 or 2, 3, 4. You can create as required. Okay, so you can use one or multiple accounts. Okay, same account you can log in here after you log out from here. After you log out from C1, you can log into the C2 also. A single user, single task. Sorry, not that one. Okay, so you can log in as a domain administrator account. So he's an administrator of all the systems in the domain. Okay, so that is the point. Again, work group and domain differences. This is the most common question, guys. Difference between work group and domain. Okay, there is a possibility of question. Work group is centralized administration. Sorry, work group is decentralized administration, no centralized control, or no centralized administration. Every PC has their own administrator account called local administrator and their user accounts also there, right? One PC user cannot log into other PCs. User and password settings information stored in their own PCs. Whenever user log into their system, so their system is authenticate and authorize the users. Can control individually, not centrally. You want to manage the systems, so you have to do individual systems. Like you can do your own settings kind of stuff. More number of PCs are increases, difficult to manage. Domain. In a domain, centralized administration. Workgroup is decentralized administration. Domain is centralized administration. Workgroup do not have any centralized control. Domain as a centralized control current domain controller, which is a server. Okay. Every PC has their own local administrator account, but here in this domain, we have a domain administrator account is an admin for all the systems in the domain. In the work group, you have to go to each and every system and log in as a local administrator account and change their settings, right? But here it is, we can enforce various types of users and various type of settings to large number of users and computers using group policies. Your user information, groups information, user information, their password, authentication and authorization done by their own system in the work group. But in a domain, so all user information, groups, computers, services, information stored in a domain controller database. Okay. So in a work group, one PC users cannot log into other PCs. In domain controller, in a domain model, domain users can log into any domain computers. Okay. So user information stored in the domain controller. Computers join into a domain called domain computers. Users in the domain called domain users. So domain users can log into any domain computers. So then domain controller, domain user can log into domain computers Any domain computers, domain controller authenticate the user. Domain controller authenticate the user. And what is this domain? Is a logical administrative body of users and computers. Domain as a name. Okay, every domain has their own domain name. This is how to check are you belongs to work group or domain, how to join kind of stuff. Okay, this is about individual computers, work group, and domain. The extension of this is Active Directory. What is an Active Directory? It's a compulsory question, guys. What is an Active Directory? What is AD or ADDS? It's a common question. Is there? What today? I need at least an half an hour to explain this Active Directory. I thought I will complete this Active Directory today, but it is taking almost like 1 o'clock. So just 5 minutes only, but I will explain tomorrow completely. But if you got a question, what is an Active Directory? What to tell? Active Directory is a directory service. Active Directory is a directory service. Provide two services. One is Active Directory database service and authentication and authorization services. 2 points. What is database and authentication and authorization services? Active Directory database stores identity of users, groups, computers, resources, information. Active Directory authenticate users when they log into the domain computers. Active Directory authenticate and authorize the users when they log into their domain computers. Okay, so this is the answer you have to tell. First point. Second point is Active Directory is actually introduced in the Windows Server 2000. Active Directory belongs to Microsoft service. This Active Directory, actually the Active Directory is introduced from Windows Server 2000. From Windows Server 2000, this Active Directory service is available. And this Active Directory is changed to Active Directory Domain Services from Windows Server 2008 onwards. From 2008 onwards, the Active Directory become Active Directory Domain Services. The Active Directory database contains users, groups, computers, resources. The Active Directory database means it's a database file. So what is the Active Directory database file name is ntds.dat. Active Directory database file name is ntds.dat. New Technology Directory Service Directory Information Tree. Active Directory authenticate users when they log into the domain computer, right? So it use a protocol called Kerberos and LDAP. Active Directory use an authentication protocols. Authentication protocols for Active Directory generally Kerberos, next one is LDAP. Okay, so this is Active Directory. So make it as a 3 simple points, guys. You can tell an answer. The first one is what is an Active Directory mean? Is Active Directory or Active Directory Domain Services. It is Active Directory is a directory service providing two services. One is Active Directory database service, authentication and authorization. So Active Directory database contains entire your Active Directory domains, users, groups, computers, resources, information. Active Directory authenticate users when they log into the domain. When they log into a domain computers or domain resources. So Active Directory authenticate and authorize users when they log into the Active Directory services. Active Directory database. This is the second one. Active Directory database file name is ntds.dat. New technology directory service directory information tree. Active Directory use authentication protocol is Kerberos and LDAP protocols. Second. Third one. Active Directory is a Microsoft service introduced in Windows 2000. Active Directory name is changed to Active Directory Domain Services from 2008 server onwards. Okay. So Active Directory as an architecture is there forest tree domain. That is okay. Once we understand, so we can try it. Okay. To join any client device into the domain, generally Windows 10 or Windows 11, you want to join that device into the domain. Okay, that Microsoft Windows version must be Pro or Enterprise only, not a Home Edition users. Okay, so this is your Active Directory how to tell. So any chance I have tomorrow, then I will explain this Active Directory first. Then we will see the DHCP and DNS. Meanwhile, also go through the troubleshooting questions. Okay, of course, take at least half an hour time. Okay, so give half an hour for time for your troubleshooting questions, their answers, and all. So also read these kind of stuff. Just give a 5-10 minutes to read once again, and we'll make another 20-30 minutes for your troubleshooting questions and other questions also. And entire remaining things, put it on your communication skills improvement. Okay, guys, that's it. That's it for today. And yeah, that's it. We'll meet you tomorrow. Mostly it is morning, guys.